Hey, how's it going? Got another knife review in this knife series. We're going to be talking about the Boker SubCom. If you don't know, the Boker SubCom series is designed by a gentleman by the name of Chad Los Banos. He's a correction officer from Hawaii. If you guys are into knives, he's also the designer behind the Boker Trance and the Spyderco Lava. So if you like this particular knife, you might want to check those designs out as well. So let's have a look. I actually got this knife while I was on the road, ended up not using it, threw it in my closet, and haven't really touched it since then. So this will be new for me. There's several different designs for the Boker SubCom series. This is the Wharncliffe variety. The most popular version is a clip point blade where it has a curved edge. For the Wharncliffe blade, what you have is a straight edge with the spine curving towards it. So depending on your what you want to use this for, this could be pretty useful. You won't want to use this for curving cuts or sweeping cuts where you have to move the blade like that, but for something where it's just a straight edge cut that you would use a razor blade, like say if you were going to open a box or cut carpet or anything like that, this is excellent. Plus, by virtue of the fact that the edge is straight, when you're sharpening it, it's going to be quite easy. For a curved edge, you're going to have to move and you might get an uneven sharpening edge. With a straight edge, you simply just have to drag this along the whetstone and you won't have to worry about getting an uneven edge, and it'll actually get sharpened really easily and really quickly. So, blade is made of Auss-8 steel, so fairly decent. Not the best steel out there, but for the value, this is not bad. Fairly rigid. The handle itself is finely textured fiber reinforced nylon. It's got a nice grippy feel to it. On the other side here, it's stainless steel, which is good because this is the side that is going to be touching the material of your pocket when you clip this in, and it's smooth, so it's going to be less wearing onto your pocket. Blade itself, if you look here, it's got two thumb studs on either side that are made of the same kind of nylon polymer material. Some people might prefer metal studs, but I don't actually mind this because these are textured quite nicely and they get the job done. Locks extremely tightly. I mean, extremely tightly. By the way, this is a liner lock design versus a lockback. A lockback knife, it has that traditional button in the back like you would see on a buck knife, and to disengage the lock you would depress that button and then close it. For a liner lock, what you'll notice here is you got a steel frame with a piece of it curved inward slightly right here. And what happens is when you open the knife, that piece clicks in all the way into the middle and holds it in. So you'll notice here that piece holds the blade up, and to disengage the knife you simply move this piece of steel out of the way so that the knife can go in. Some people question how strong a liner lock can be. For me, I don't really mind whether it's a lockback or a liner lock. It mostly depends on the execution and the quality control of the manufacturer. For this particular design, if you look at Mr. Los Banos' other designs, they all have a very aggressive choil, which is this curve right behind the blade, and I like that. It gives you a good grasping handhold. Everyone I've talked to who's used this or has this kind of blade, whatever the blade shape is, they've noticed that the SubCom series has this great choil. So if you have large hands or small hands, it doesn't matter. This little finger depression here lets you get a nice, good, firm hold for it, no matter what kind of cut you're trying to do. Also, by virtue of this little choil right here, when your finger's here, there's no way the lock is going to get disengaged because it keeps everything stable. So you can hold it really securely. And if by some freak accident the lock were to become disengaged, let me just disengage it right here, and the lock could bend forward, the fact that your finger is here, it keeps the knife from folding in on your fingers. So even if somehow the lock were to become disengaged, there's no way you're going to cut your hand while using this blade. So you're not going to really have to worry about that, and that's almost priceless. Construction is really well done. You're not going to find any tool marks or metal marks on the metal section of the blade, and you're not going to find any little extra bits of material sticking out of the polymer handle either, which you'll find on some cheaper knives. Fit and finish is excellent. Good jimping on the back spine of the blade. You got some larger jimping here on the back for when you're holding it normally. It's nice and textured, good and sharp. Not sharp for abrasion, but enough to keep my thumb here to get a nice purchase on the knife. And then on the tip here, you'll notice that there's finer jimping on the spine, in case I want to choke up and bring my hand a little bit more forward for some finer work. Locks up very nicely. By the way, because it is a liner lock, whereas you'll have to shift your grip somehow to use a lockback knife, with a liner lock, you don't really have to flip this knife around or do some weird thing like that. Just move your thumb up a little bit, disengage the lock, and then close it without having to shift your grip too much. And plus, because of this little choil, which I like a lot, you're not going to really cut your finger. There's no way you're going to cut your finger really, because look at here. When you disengage the lock, you're safe. So it's quite nice. If you look back here, for the pocket clip, it's held in by 3 hex screws, and it's reversible, so you can put it on for tip up or tip down carry. So for those of you who don't know, so you clip this inside your pocket, and most of the knife is inside your pocket with the clip facing out. This is tip up carry, and that's how it comes out of the box. And most people like tip up carry because when you're reaching in your pocket, say you're looking down on this, when you reach down and then pull this out of your pocket, it's already in a position for you to open it. Some other people, however, prefer tip down, so if somehow the knife were to become engaged and open up, there's no way you would cut your hand when you reach down. So it's all personal preference. So that's a nice touch to have it reversible. There are 3 hits I would give on this knife. Number 1, the pocket clip is stiff. I mean really stiff. I have a really hard time putting this in my pocket because it is so stiff. Most people, you might want to take a hex screw, remove these screws, and take a pair of pliers and very gently bend it ever so slightly, and then clip it back in and see if you can get this bent out a little bit more in order to fit this in your pocket. However, because it is so stiff and because the pocket clip is so thick, you're never going to have to worry about this breaking. A lot of people I know with pocket knives, they end up breaking the clip eventually after a couple of years of use, and then they have to call the company for a replacement. I don't really see that happening with this knife. The second hit I'll give it is, I like the jimping here towards the spine. That's good. I don't see any purpose on having this jimping here on the bottom. Some people say, yeah, you get like a nice firm hold with the rest of your fingers, but I don't think that's needed, because if you have this and you have your thumb on the back, this part isn't really necessary. So this jimping, even though it gives me a good hold right here, it's not necessary. Plus, this aggressive jimping in the back, when you put this in your pocket, I can see, depending on how you carry, this abrading against the material of your pocket eventually. So I would rather have this be smooth, but that's just a personal preference. The last hit I'll give this, and that's probably the biggest hit, is the weight. This knife weighs 2.5 ounces, which is a lot. For most people, you might think 2.5 ounces, that's not a lot, but for something that only has a 1 7/8 inch blade, I would expect the knife to be a little bit lighter. Granted, the frame is stainless steel, so I mean it's really hard to avoid that, and I wouldn't know how you would want to cut down on weight, but for a knife this small, you would want it to be a little bit lighter, because you got a small knife because you want it to be light. To give you something for scale, the cold steel roach belly here with a 4.5 inch blade, this is 2.6 ounces, so this weighs almost as much as this. If you look here at the differences, you notice this is a pretty dense knife when you compare it actually then. But that's my preferences. When I carry a small knife, I like it to be light because I don't want it dragging down in my pocket, and I want to just forget that I have it on me until I need to use it. Some people, however, don't care about the weight, and actually some people actually prefer the weight because it makes them feel like they have a little bit more control. It's a little bit more stable because it is so dense. And I have to give it credit because even though it is so dense, it's a heavy-duty knife. This thing is meant for hard use. You can just feel it when you pick this up. You know this knife is well constructed and it is tough. I can see this knife taking a lot of abuse, and all you would have to do is occasionally sharpen it, and then you could just take it back out again. So it's a good value knife. Retails for about $25–30 on the internet, depending on what site you go to, and it's a pretty good deal. It's nice construction, beautiful fit and finish, pretty useful, depending on what blade shape you get. I just happen to like the Wharncliffe blade. I just think it looks cooler on this, but even if you go with a clip point, it's basically going to be the same kind of locking mechanism. It's a very useful knife, and it's a good buy. So if you like this, you might want to check it out. It's pretty safe to use as well. So that's my review of the Boker SubCom, the Wharncliffe variety. So thanks for watching, and have a good day. Bye.